now.
Okay, so I'm gonna have to apologize for my my bad penmanship, but this is gonna explain why we're gonna why and how we're going to invest in what cryptos, and I'm gonna try to break it down in a really simple way why I believe this strategy will be winning. And so we're gonna start out with the funnel, okay?
Okay.
Now the funnel, there's at the top, we have easy to get into and easy to buy coins like Bitcoin. So the right side of the funnel is going to be about coins, and the left side of the funnel is going to be about people. So we have, you know, traditional financial institutions at the top, traditional finance, and news, okay? So right now, there's a fuck ton of action at the top of this funnel. So we have people buying into Bitcoin, and we have a lot of noobs and traditional financial institutions. Now, if you looked at it statistically, this is really true, because I bet this traditional financial institutional capital is exceeding probably even the noobs, but we don't really know. So if we're gonna build an investment strategy, to me, Bitcoin is cool. It's probably a nice play, but you have to have a lot of capital to make a lot of capital there. So I think it's going to become less now. Like, you're not going to buy a Lamborghini in 5 years like you could in the beginning, right? So you got to come down to the bottom of the funnel. And at the bottom of the funnel, we have these B tokens and, you know, all of these new ICOs that are about to come out. And then you have, like, you know, these technical guys are at the bottom. So if we have people on the left side of our funnel, we have these tech guys, like probably us, and then at the top of the funnel. So all of this money is dumping into all of this shit. So it's just all of this money is going down. So as you go down the funnel, after you get Bitcoin, you know, some people are getting into ETH, and then from ETH, you're gonna hop into all of these other ICOs, and there's just a ton of them, and then they get more obscure as you go down. Like maybe even down here, there's shit coins and they're cheaper, right? And then as you go down, like these tech guys, they have an investment strategy of their own, and then these traditional financial institutions, you know, they might be buying futures, options, and all this other obscure financial instruments. But what I really believe in understanding this funnel is that when this cash comes in, and the currencies, as you go further down this funnel towards ICOs, is what's really going to happen is that any ICOs that have either a practical use, good tech, good teams, anything that is real, like financial startup, sound financials, right? Like, for example, do they already have deals? Do they already have a use? For example, Stellar is something that I'm feeling really good about. They just made a deal with IBM. And so what my belief is that as all this money goes down this funnel, and see, these traditional financial institutions, and maybe even noobs, they're going to start learning that it's not really interesting to make money at the top of this funnel, that they're going to try to, you know, make it at the bottom. For example, Stellar was at like a penny or something just recently, and now it's up to, I think, 70 cents. And so Stellar was one of these down here at the bottom of the funnel that you could buy in real cheap, but see, it has all of those interesting things about it, like it was ex-Ripple people, it had a practical use, now they're starting to make deals, and it's going to travel up. So to me, if I'm one of these noobs and I'm one of these traditional financial institutions, eventually they're going to realize that having a strategy at the bottom of this funnel is going to be more profitable, because there's so many new ICOs coming out. So you could take, so $100 for a noob or $100,000 for a financial institution actually makes sense to like start at the bottom of this funnel, but they have to get in on these coins. So they're all buying in. Like Coinbase is building 100,000 accounts or something per week now. So all these people have Bitcoin. A lot of people are Bitcoin rich. I think we're at what, like a $700 billion market cap right now, is that right, Ben?
Yeah, something like that.
Something like that, right? So there's all this money at the top of the funnel, but what's gonna happen is it's just gonna keep going down. And so if you're really smart right now, I think, is that if you're already down here at the bottom, just picking up a lot of these tokens, that this money is going to find its way down in these tokens and make them go up to the top of the funnel, because now Stellar is like up here, you know, in practical use and in market cap. So my strategy now is identify which ones of these ICOs actually have the sound financials. They're not meme coins or, you know, some shit coins that have no use. Like, we have some really interesting ones. Now we have XSpec that has really great privacy features. Some people probably argue that Zcash is there too, but I don't really think so. And it's more interesting even for the noobs too, because eventually they're going to realize that they're going to make more money in one of these ICOs. You know, like a lot of these ICOs are 1,000x, 10,000x, and their money in Bitcoin is like, eventually putting your money in Bitcoin is probably going to be worse than putting it in Bank of America, which is kind of sad to say. Isn't that kind of fucked up actually? This probably shouldn't even say that, but eventually that's not going to be interesting for people, and all of this money is going to make its way down this funnel and hit these ICOs. And so to me, these guys that are already down here at the bottom of the funnel making a lot of plays in ICOs, like you could buy 100 ICOs at the same price that you can buy some Bitcoin, and your Bitcoin, like even if Bitcoin hits 100K, which it probably will, you have to spend a lot of money to make a lot of money from that anyways, right? So I would rather just hit the bottom of this funnel, buy up a bunch of this shit, and all of this money, the financial institutional money, is going to make its way down this funnel and hit these ICOs. All this Bitcoin and all this noob money is eventually going to find its way down the funnel. And then there's all this technology you have to think about too. Like right now, to even trade in these ICOs is obscure, but that's going to change eventually.
Right, it's difficult right now. Well, most of them you can only buy with Bitcoin or Ethereum.
Yeah, and so, but that's going to change. Like in 6 months, one of these other wallets is going to take over to where somebody, like, see right now, if you want to go from Bitcoin to ETH, some people don't even know how to do that. And then you have exchanges and all this shit that you have to deal with. But eventually what's going to happen is that all of these noobs are just going to have a wallet, and they're going to be able to trade throughout this whole funnel real easy.
US dollars, straight to Stellar, straight to anything. Yeah.
And so that's why it makes the bottom of this funnel even more interesting, because all of this cash, it's going to find its way down to the bottom of this funnel. Just right now it can't. Like, if my mom bought Bitcoin right now, she doesn't know what the fuck to do with it. She has no idea. I'm having people messaging me every day. How do I move ETH? How do I buy Potcoin? How do I buy all these coins, right? And so, and I don't even know what to tell them, honestly. But eventually, there's going to be a wall. Like even Bread, I was looking at. Bread makes it crazy simple to get Bitcoin, even simpler and more fast than Coinbase, apparently, right? But apps like Bread are going to allow you just to like, oh, you want to pick up some Stellar? Cool, just change your Bitcoin over to Stellar or whatever. So right now, I think the smartest strategy, if I just have to guess, this is all bullshit, I don't know, who knows, maybe I'm totally wrong, it's fine with me, I don't care, is that picking up a lot of these solid financially sound ICOs, because they're all going to be discovered, because people are going to be like, damn, Bitcoin isn't interesting enough for me anymore. I want high returns. And they're going to start searching down into the bottom of the funnel and bring their money with them and buy the ICOs that are really interesting, like Stellar, for example, is already, Stellar is a perfect example. It's basically like Ripple. It's a better Ripple. And anybody who went down the funnel just looking for good, you know, sound tokens found something like Stellar, XSpec, they found Dent, they found, there's dozens, and there's going to be hundreds probably, and they're coming out every day, and they're all coming out right here in the bottom of this funnel. And so I think that right now the most interesting thing to do is identify which ones have sound financials and buy all of them, because your $100 at the top of this funnel isn't going anywhere. It's not going anywhere. But down here, it only really can go up, and we're talking 100x, 1000x. So yeah, I hope that makes sense. Do you have any questions, man?
Yeah, one of the things I was thinking about was like, right now, the reason these things are at the top of the funnel, like we were saying, is that like you need to have Bitcoin and Ethereum to buy into a lot of these.
And so we probably should mention USD up here, is because this is like what everybody's doing. They need to get USD into the system, and you literally cannot get USD into anything else in this funnel. And see, ETH is a new one. Now you can buy ETH, you can buy BCH, but that's about it. Like so you can even see Litecoin.
Yeah.
But see, this wasn't even true before. And so you can see that USD is getting better access, you know,
yeah, you're right.
to some of these. And it's going to keep, you see what the pattern?
Yeah.
It's going to keep going down this funnel. And so if you hold these coins and you know that eventually there's going to be connections of USD to this shit, then you're doing pretty good, I think.
Yeah, I think you're right. Well, I think a lot of coins are going to be added to places like Coinbase or places that accept US dollars.
Oh yeah, well Coinbase is becoming an exchange. So, you know, all of these 100,000 accounts a week, which is, I don't know how many millions, does anybody know, is that even a public number, how many users that Coinbase has right now?
I don't know.
All of those people are going to be able to trade, and they already bought Bitcoin probably. They're just waiting a month to get it or whatever they have to wait. And so once all of that money is in the system, right now people are just sitting on deck waiting for their Bitcoin to get into the system. And once it does, it's just going to start sliding down this funnel. So you could just buy up a bunch of this shit, let it sit in your pocket for 6 months is my guess, and then open up your wallet or your portfolio here in, you know, 6 months to a year, and you're going to be looking pretty good. You know?
James is asking, when do you think Coinbase will expand to more coins? James, I've heard a bunch of rumors about it, but I haven't heard anything concrete from Coinbase. If anyone else has heard anything, please post on this and we'll talk about it. But if you've seen any official Coinbase reports of them adding other coins, I know there's been some weird rumored fake looking stuff online saying they're going to add Ripple, but who knows? It might not be Coinbase, it might be other exchanges that are adding these coins to be able to trade them to US dollars.
Yeah, we might not even know, because when they added Litecoin, everybody was really surprised actually, and I think that was sort of a power grab from Coinbase to grab their devs, my guess. And then they probably learned from that, oh wow, because Coinbase thought they were a wallet first. They didn't even know they were an exchange. And then they learned and they pivoted. A lot of people don't know that they literally thought they were going to be a wallet, and then they changed, like, wow, exchanges are where all the money is. So my guess is soon. Like, they did Bitcoin Cash, and they just keep pumping them out. So my guess is that'll be dozens within a year, you know, and that'll probably even be Stellar. Like, they might even have Stellar on there before. Now I feel like I'm market manipulating, right. But it could be Ripple, it could be Stellar.
Well, yeah, Stellar's one we talk about a lot. But,
yeah.
But mostly because there's tokens like Kin, which is the Kick Messenger token that the CEO came online a few weeks ago and said he's going to be switching from Ethereum to Stellar. So he's moving his token from one blockchain to another, which I haven't really heard about happening very often, if not at all. And there's a lot of reasons that he wants to do that, including a lot of network congestion on Ethereum, and there might be other features of Stellar that he likes. Did you hear any details about why?
So what I heard was they were releasing it on Ethereum, and then the problem with Ethereum is that shit like CryptoKitties or something could come out tomorrow where there's a lot of action on the Ethereum network. And so what happens is if you have your own little walled garden basically in your Kick Messenger app, and then now you want to be exchanging Ethereum, you're tied to all of the action that's going on in the entire Ethereum market, which is really huge. So it's almost better to have like your own token for that little ecosystem so that you're not tied, you're not coupled to all of the market action. That's why nobody wants to fuck with Bitcoin right now, because like you can't even move Bitcoin from one place to another. And if you do, for example, on Coinbase, you're paying like $30 just to move a few $100. And so that's never going to work for a game or any of these other things. So a lot of people aren't really seeing that these specialized tokens, people are like, oh, well, these other bullshit currencies aren't going to go anywhere. Well, yeah, they are, because if you want to do microtransactions in a game, you want to be quick, like any game in the whole world could have its own token really, because it's going to be shielded by all the market action from those larger coins like Ethereum. Like I think that what people are learning is that Ethereum could possibly just be a platform, and that could be the only use of it, because there's too much market action going on for you to build your little game, and now all of a sudden, you know, you're tied to all of the congestion of the entire Ethereum network. So I think that's going to be a big pattern too, is people are going to realize that the platforms are really good for building coins, but you're going to want to build your own kind of context where you're shielded from all those market forces that are happening on the larger coins.
Yeah, well, you know, Michael was saying that he thinks it's a good theory, and that he was calling Bitcoin holiday hypes. It jumped a few weeks ago, and you could feel it falling off. Now, people are getting into alts and ICOs because that's where the money is, but a lot of these players aren't technical at all. They're just buying them thinking they will go up.
Yeah, that's good. They are. And all of these, to me, it's all about .com. It's .com again, and all you have to do is go and look in the .com playbook to see what's really happening here. Because what happened in .com was, yeah, okay, the bubble burst, but look at, like yesterday, I was realizing, what is the overall market cap for the internet, for example? People are still butthurt about the bubble in .com, but look at the overall market cap. Like if you saw, like this is probably like, here's the how Bitcoin went. It was kind of like whatever, then 2014 hit, and then it kind of like crashed for a second. But look at the overall market of Bitcoin is like here, and nobody gives a fuck about what happened here now. And to me, it's the same thing in the .com bubble. It's like, oh, whatever, it's something happened right here. And then the bubble burst, and yeah, there's a few corporations or whatever that were hurt, and everybody still remembers it. But what is the overall market cap for the internet now? It's like even more exaggerated than what's going on with Bitcoin. So nobody gives a fuck about what happened in this bubble. And so to me, that's what's happening in Bitcoin and cryptos in general, is that we're going to hit this bubble, and I hope that it happens. I'm going to be happy that it does, because now sound financials and these ICOs are really going to matter, because it's going to trim off all the fat from all this bullshit and the scams and the Ponzi schemes, which is probably what was happening right here in the .com bubble. A lot of these sites were Ponzi schemes. You heard about corporations just saying, oh, we got a .com now, and then they failed. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then they just failed because they were just fake ass pretenders, basically. And then we got rid of them. That's what we want. We want people to get really fucking scared and all these people to fail right here, because what it's going to do is it's going to harden these more sound financial ICOs, and people are willing to make actually like logical investments and use, you know, rational behavior to invest in the tokens. Like they're probably, and this was one of the topics of my study, is that right here when this .com bubble happened is actually one of the most prosperous times of the entire internet. Because yeah, a bunch of big losers failed, but there were all of these smaller winners, maybe even millions of them that happened right here. And that's what we want to happen. We want it to happen multiple times. Every time it crashes, to me, it's opening up the field for more players. It's strengthening. Yeah. It's like a disease happened, and all of a sudden the disease is cured, and now we're ready to go. You know, it's just little colds that are happening. So yeah, that's kind of the way. To me, it's probably just what's happened, and it's not just little currencies, because now we're seeing that it's expanded to equity instruments. You know, they're funding instruments. There's so many different uses of it now that at first I remember it was like, oh, well, there's Bitcoin and there's Litecoin, and then there's maybe like Doge or some other, and then a bunch of bullshit Ponzi scheme altcoins, and people were like, oh, well, these coins have no use. But like people weren't thinking about them as funding instruments back then. Like the whole landscape of cryptos right now, from me watching it from 2012, is totally different. It's like, now to me, like even I was a little bit shaky about it, because it seemed like everybody was just all about currencies. But now it's different. Now they're actual practical funding instruments. I think that it's gonna, I mean, I'm pretty crazy about it, but I think that it's just gonna, they're gonna like turn Wall Street, they're gonna grab Wall Street by the ankles, dangle it over a building, and fucking shake all the change out of their pockets, and then, you know, just let it drop off the side of the building, because nobody wants to fuck, like to me, I don't want to go into all these complex trading platforms that exist right now. I just want to buy a token. I can do that by just like copying and pasting an address. Okay, yeah, I invested $10, a penny into this company or whatever. That's way easier. So yeah. How could this not just destroy Wall Street, basically?
Yeah, so just so everyone who was watching the beginning understands, Kurt's explaining his funnel theory of money and cryptocurrencies and how money enters the system and where it's going to and what the pattern is. Actually, if anyone has any questions, just post them in the comments below. And Kurt, why don't you one more time, just before we end, summarize what this funnel theory is so everyone who just tuned in.
All right, so on the right side of this funnel, I'm sorry, it's really messy. I should probably draw a graph or something like that. I'm just using it to augment. But at the top of the funnel and on the right side of this funnel, you have the different kinds of currencies. So you start with USD and fiat or whatever. You know, so this is renminbi, all these other currencies that people are already transacting in, have a lot. It's all in their bank. It's just on deck waiting to be used. And that's getting dumped into the Bitcoin, and that's like massive, 100,000 accounts a week. And what's happening is that access, as you go down the funnel, access to these, you know, these coins and these tokens is harder to get to. as you go down. So for example, if you get a Coinbase account, you can turn USD into Bitcoin and ETH and Bitcoin Cash and I think Litecoin now, but you couldn't before. So it's kind of growing. And what's going to happen over time?
What's growing? You mean that what's growing is
the
link?
ability to access coins further down on this funnel is getting easier in USD, because before you could only buy Bitcoin, right, in USD. And so what I think is happening over time is that USD and other fiat is going to be able to access every level of this funnel. Like right now, if you wanted to go USD to XSpec, like it would take you all day. And if you're a grandma or whatever, like just fucking forget about it. Just give up right now. So, but that's going to change because, there are going to be multi-coin wallets where you just like buy in USD and you just
like
click
exchanges, yeah.
Yeah, like exchanges, but the exchanges are just so complex. Like I got to know all this shit about computer science and addresses and all this crap, right? And so the other side of the funnel is just really like the level of knowledge that people have about these systems and different people that are willing to invest. So we have traditional financial institutions and noobs that are dumping money in at the top of this funnel. And then we have these like techies who are sort of dumping their money into the lower part of this funnel, which are more obscure ICOs. Like to me, XSpec would be one of those. Stellar was.
Yeah, but I think there's even noobs at that level now, honestly. Like
okay, yeah. So this is evolving over time, just like the cash and the USD access is on this side. Is that noobs are starting to learn like shit. If I buy an ICO, I can buy it at a fraction of a penny, and then maybe it'll blast up, right? And so there's a lot of speculators. And so what I'm really suggesting is that we have to consider bubbles, and they're gonna pop, hopefully a lot. I'm really excited about that, actually. And so as this money makes its way down the funnel, who's winning here? To me, who's really winning is people who are choosing ICOs with sound financials, like, how great is their team? How practical is the token? Is the token... do they already have deals? To me, I'm starting to care about that. If the token doesn't have a deal, well, great. You're going to build this great token, but is it a problem? Is it a solution looking for a problem? Probably. And so things like Stellar that have deals with IBM and stuff, those are really interesting to me. And also XSpec, which has this really great ability to be fully anonymous. So when you have these other economies that I think we're going to go through this awkward period like we're seeing in Korea where the government is going to start intervening, and then things like XSpec are going to look way more interesting where you can just hop on tour and no one really knows what you're doing.
Yeah.
So, but to me, who's winning in this whole game is as the money makes its way down the funnel, these ICOs are still pretty cheap right now, I think. And the ones that have sound fundamentals, to me, those are the people that are going to brave the storm of bubbles and also win in this little game right here. So that's pretty much the summary of it.
Okay, that's the summary of it. Kurt and I will be online intermittently. If you guys have any questions, whatever, just post them on this video, and look forward to discussing more with you guys.
Yep.
Peace. Bye. Bye.